When it comes to trying to understand how people can be so easily influenced by the media, governmental propaganda, fake faith healers, energy healers, tarot card readers, psychics, ad campaigns, religious sects, and cults, there's some common principles that once we learn to identify can help to set us free. Once we become aware of a process, we can then become immune to the influence. This process will be difficult for some to learn, as their mental bias will keep getting in the way, just like a firewall on a computer, trying to make them disregard the information as it's presented because it's too big a shock to their system. However, it's this visceral emotional response that we need to be aware of and learn to challenge regularly if we want to be free thinkers. One of the reasons that this information can be so difficult for people to try to learn or evaluate is because it aims to show how fragile and flawed our belief systems are. And as people equate their beliefs to their identity, any criticism of a belief is taken as a personal attack. And as such, it's met like any other form of verbal attack, which tends to be a fight or flight response. The other possible protection mechanism is a denial, by backing up their belief with more poorly constructed belief statements, such as, I would know if I'd been influenced. No one could try to influence me. People aren't evil. I'm too smart to be influenced. There's precise flaws in this belief system that become so easily influenceable that those who are versed in body language, hypnotic language patterns, neuro-linguistic programming, and the skills of the common stage magician, to name a few, can take advantage of. By the end of this presentation, not only should you be able to recognize where these techniques and principles have already been used on you, you should also gain an insight to be able to protect yourself from having them occur again in the future. And you should be able to see how you can adapt these principles and techniques for all sorts of self-improvement processes in your life. Just keep in mind there's no such thing as good and evil when it comes to knowledge and these techniques. The same technique that can be used to manipulate someone can be used to help to heal them and improve their life. In order to explain these principles, it'll involve a rough overview of many different techniques. Some may seem simple, in fact too simple to work on you, and others might at first seem too complicated. However, until you learn all the individual parts and see how they can be added together and combined in different ways, you won't be able to grasp the significance of these. The ones I'll be speaking of are the ones that are cross-contextual, and therefore, like tools in a toolkit, can be chosen and used, adapted and tailored to almost any situation or circumstance that arises in your life. One thing I want to stress at the beginning of these presentations is although many of these techniques are used by all sorts of exploitative scam merchants, there's an equal amount of self-deluded healers and psychics who've either convinced themselves or have been convinced by others that they have genuine gifts or powers. But you'll soon see these people, who may have the best intentions, are equally as dangerous as any conman or grifter who's intentionally trying to exploit you. So with all this said, let's finally start and learn the techniques, and from now on I'll refer to anyone practicing these skills in an exploitative manner as a grifter. In neuro-linguistic programming, the use of the term chunking, as in up chunking and down chunking, is used to describe one of our perceptual filters. This revolves around some people sorting for differences and others sorting for similarities. The down chunking helps people like accountants and PhDs to go through information in great detail looking for the specifics, while the up chunkers may be more likely to excel in right brain thinking, seeing the bigger picture, seeing how things that are seemingly disconnected at the surface are connected and interrelated at some level. This can be helpful, for example, with an artist or a musician. When learning this information, you need to keep down chunking, zooming in to understand the individual techniques, and then be able to up chunk, step back and see how all the pieces fit together into the bigger picture. Just like how a stage magician can use a few basic principles in 100 different ways and sequences to create an infinite number of new tricks to mesmerize people with. For each topic I mention, you could spend hours delving into it. But for its role in influence, a basic understanding of how it interrelates to the bigger picture of influence can yield much quicker practical results. A common misconception is that the grifter is someone who comes across as seedy, dodgy, manipulative, or domineering. In fact, the opposite is true. Grifters are usually very conscious of their appearance and the effect that it has on others, and just like the sociopath and the narcissist, they'll spend a great deal of time managing their perception to appear charismatic, friendly, and trustworthy. This principle is called the 4 A's: attraction, affinity, acquiescence, and authority. The grifter is a master of trance states. You'll hear people say things like, I could never be hypnotized, I could never be influenced, I've never been in a trance. The truth is, humans are trance machines. Everything we do is in one trance state or another. If we're watching a movie, engrossed in the movie, we're in a trance state. If we're doing a job, singing a song, reading a book, running, whatever, everything we do shifts our perceptual filters to facilitate the state we're in, while shutting off our awareness of all other information that's not beneficial to the state that we're currently in. One way of explaining this is through frame control. The person that holds the state the longest holds the frame. Human behavior evolved with frames always in mind. Some basic examples of this are when a man is hitting on a woman. As he is the one approaching, he's the one that wants something, therefore she has the power. He's trying to get her attention. So in that frame, his value gets lowered as he's interacting with a needy energy. But in that context, if he can act like he is the prize, congruently and confidently, long enough, the person has to either buy into his frame or leave. The grifter will use this technique to throw you out of your frame and into their frame. For example, they may keep asking you what's wrong with you, what your problem is, why do you feel so bad, putting a seed of doubt into your mind until your self-confident frame shifts and you start looking to them for answers, which they will happily make up and more than likely have numerous routines prepared for these exact situations. So what they're going to do is get you into some sort of trance state without you being aware of this. And here are some of the ways that you can do it. Now, a hypnotic state means any state that bypasses the critical factor and stops you from questioning what they're telling you, and you just accept it as true. And these techniques have been detailed in fields like hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming. What they will do is observe you when they're talking to you. Once you study body language, you can see there's many ways to get someone into trance states, bypassing their ability to criticize information. The best cue for you is your blink rate. The more they get you to uncritically go along with anything they say, the slower your blink rate goes. The more you start to criticize what they say, the faster your blink rate goes. This is where the hypnotist and the neuro-linguistic programmer start to pace and lead. Continue on to part 2 to learn about pacing and leading, why people are selfish, the VAKOG modalities and submodalities, and Milton Erickson. To learn about herbs, supplements, and natural treatment plans, check out my website.